This is just a little bit of history, won't spend a lot of time on it. In the third millennium BC, the great civilization of Mohenjo-Daro flourished there, populated by the dark-skinned Dravidians, which is typically what we see the Indian people have, and the Pakistanis too, for that matter, have that dark-skinned complexion that you see. You can usually look at those folks and get a pretty good idea of what part of the world they came from. For what archaeologists have been able to discover, the Dravidians have a polytheistic fertility religion. Anybody know what that word polytheistic means? Multiple gods. Even to this day. But back in its very inception, they looked at gods that would help their crops and things like that. And also being fruitful and raising families too. And one of the gods that they still look at today is a fertility god. Hindu scripture. They have books too that they look back to. I don't think it's just from what I'm able to understand, it's not God inspired or their God, many gods. Written over a 2,000-year period, so it took a long time to write it, and it started in about 1400 BC, so it goes back a long ways, as I said. That's just the written part of it. The oral part goes back it was a long time before they started putting it down in words. The Vedas, this is one of their scriptures, if you will. The Vedas means wisdom or knowledge. It is the oldest of the Hindu scriptures. It contains prayers, hymns, ritual texts, and it was composed over a 1,000-year period, and it started at about that because it is the oldest, it started at about that 1400 BC time. So that goes back a long ways. Some of these faiths that we have looked at or will look at don't even have a scripture per se. This one does. And I do my best to pronounce some of these words. Upanishads, that's a collection of mythical ideas. A lot of their beliefs are mythical about man and the universe, specifically eternal Brahman. He's sort of like the head god, if you will, which is the basis of all reality. And the Altman, this is a word to circle that word. It's kind of an important word. You'll see it again in a bit. It means yourself or your soul. It's who you are. It doesn't die, like ours doesn't die, but we'll find out in a little bit that it gets recycled. And again, continuing with Hindu scriptures, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, these are epic tales. They look back at a lot of their history, and I think some of them, from what I can tell, are sort of like folklore, but they're very important that they've written these down, and they use those a lot today, even today. Things have changed in India as far as their faith goes, but it's still there, this Hindu faith is. Bhagavad Gita, that's part of the Mahabharata, and it's probably the most sacred scripture that they have, and it's just basically a song, and it's the most well known. Even today, they rely on that, and I can't say for sure that they can all quote it. It's kind of a long song. 2 core beliefs. Another of your underlines. Do anyone have an idea what those two? You hear about them. They're very prominent in Hindu beliefs. Well, we'll find out. Reincarnation. You can't say it after you see it up there. That doesn't count. Anybody know what reincarnation means?
It means when you die, you'll come back as something, whether it be a bug or an animal or something like that.
Very good. But in the sense that your physical body dies, your Altman, your Atman, whatever it was, it doesn't die. It just gets recycled. Right. It can come back, and we'll talk about what determines that here in a little bit. But anyhow, a person's Atman's word's name, his spirit or his self, who he is. The person's uncreated. They don't believe that anybody created that soul, that person, that spirit. It was just there, and you end up with it. must be repeatedly recycled into the world of different bodies, animals, plants, or even inanimate objects, so you can come back as a rock.
Okay, I have to ask this.
What's
How
that?
do you, if you come back as a rock, how do you get out of it?
Thank you.
But it's a rock,
Yep.
a rock is not a living.
They have
it says in there that
you have to be a good rock.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You have to be a good rock.
Yeah, that you have to get it right this time? You keep getting to come back? and
Well, let's
get it right?
just talk about that.
Yes, there's a process that.
Reincarnation is the process that takes a Hindu through the great wheel of samsara. Samsara is that continuing wheel, and it also includes the thousands of millions of lives. I mean, this could go on and on and on, and you don't know at what point you are in that path, if you will. You could be at the beginning of it, you could be near the end of it. You don't know where you're at on that. That each Altman must endure before reaching moksha. Moksha is that point when you're free of that endless cycle. That's the point that you're trying to get to. That all of this and each of these cycles that you go through includes suffering too. You're going to go through suffering again, repeatedly, and also the good things that go along with that. And the other belief is in karma. And that is the action. The law of cause and effect. Anybody ever hear of Newton's theory on energy? I think it was energy. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This is kind of the same thing because everything you do, good or bad, is going to come back to haunt you or bless you, so to speak. So it's very important for them to do good works, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But that's how you can get out of being a rock or a cow dung or whatever. You have to come back. And that's not just going to happen at once either. It's going to be a process.
That wasn't my question. If it's an inanimate object, not a living object.
I know what your question is. If you're a rock, how can you, because your spirit is within that rock. How does a rock,
How does it expel it?
There-
How do you move on to the next?
Phase of the reincarnation.
I don't have the answers.
Okay, I didn't know if you read something.
It is a very complicated religion, as you can see.
Yeah,
But that is the belief that, it's a digression. What's the opposite word for digression?
Progression.
Yeah, progression. I mean, you don't go from being a nuclear physicist over there to just becoming a rock. It's based on karma, things that you've done bad in your life. The next life you come back as something else. And if you can turn that around by doing good karma, the good action, that you get to move up into a better state in life. Again, we don't have all of the answers. It's hard to go through these books and figure out what to put in a 45 or 50-minute class, and hopefully, if you want to know more about that, I suggest you find a good book online and read about it. And maybe then you get.
read something.
And I'm not sure because these people,
No, it doesn't.
these folks are raised. I mean, it's indoctrinated into them right from. They understand this. They know that they fit into a certain caste, and we'll talk about what castes are in a little bit, where you are in life. Lively discussion this week. I might need a vacation too.
Well, if you're a bug and you're in this process and somebody sees it and goes like that, now you gotta start all over.
Or come back as something else. Because your life isn't over just because you've been squashed. If you've been a good bug, then you may come back. I'm not trying to be funny about this. I mean, this is the way they believe.
I understand
That
that.
you'll come back as a monkey maybe, because you were a good bug, Don't ask me to explain that. I'm just telling you, this is how they think. So if you're having a discussion with somebody that's Hindu, then
Better not talk to them.
Google has the answer on this.
make it a short one.
Okay, I'll try to read fast. If someone uses a rock, it will gain good karma. Suppose someone gets tired and sits on it, then it gains good karma. If someone uses it as a tool, it will also gain good karma. Example in mythology, blah, 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 blah. Indra, demigod, was cursed to become a rock. There was a great devotee. Porch was too hot. He stood on Kudakara, asked the Lord to stand on the rock that was in the shade. It was Indra who became that rock, and he regained his former body and went back into heaven. So
Does that
there
make
you
a little
go.
sense? Maybe if somebody else uses you for benefit?
If someone sits on you, you
got the car.
Think of it in this terms, that rock that David used to slay Goliath with, that would have been good karma there.
Well, if you sat on it, then that rock was a help to you. So, maybe then that's
Yeah,
how.
or maybe you sat in the shade of it, or something
Yeah.
like that. Marion, did you have something?
yeah, the rock turned into sand.
There you go.
It's spread all over that way. See?
Okay, it's easy to get off track here. Past the Mashka. Mashka is that point that you want to be out that endless cycle of reincarnation. Liberation from suffering and union with the infinite. That means that you're no longer part of that reincarnation, going from different creation to something else. Here's the three paths that you can take. Dharma. Paths of works. Pay attention to that because it is a path of works. That's one of their paths to salvation, if you will. The believer must fulfill a set of social or religious obligations. You have to do these things. Work within his caste. Anybody know what caste is? With an E on the
It's a
end.
place in life, whatever.
Place in life.
Like, we have that kind of America, like we have the low class, middle class, the upper class. And it's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
We do, but in our sense, we can work out of that caste. You're pretty much born into it, and you're stuck there. And if you were born to a family that was laborers, and that's your caste that you're going to be in, not necessarily doing the same work, but the same kind of work. Did you have something back there?
I was just gonna say, like, it's your social standing, and it is pretty immovable. People don't really move up and down, because they believe, in their culture, they believe that, you know, you're there because of your karma, because
Yes.
of what you've done. So you need to do
Yes.
good where you're at, not improve yourself, but do a good job where you are.
Yes. And in your next life, you could come back and you'll still be a human, but you may work your way up into that caste. There's four castes. I don't know if I'll have time to talk about that today, but there's four castes. The caste system was outlawed by India not too many years ago, but they still use it today. It is, they understand that they come back into a certain place in society based on all this other stuff, their karma. Work within the caste, marry within the caste. You can't marry somebody that's, I'm not going to be funny here, but you have to marry somebody that, if you're in that working class people, that you can't marry somebody that's a politician or high up in the very top of the caste system. And again, a little bit like some of the other faiths that we see, there are eat or not eat certain foods. I'm not even going to talk about that because I don't know what they are. It's too much other stuff to go over. And above all, as far as the caste system goes, one of the very important parts is that you have a son who can make sacrifices. Even after you're gone, that you have a son. Males do carry a higher, higher value that women can't do, females can't even do in somebody in the caste system over there. So males are very important. And so it's important that you do have a son that can carry on some of these sacrifices. These might move him up to a better reincarnation again, still being in the human part of it. You haven't been so bad or so good that you haven't really reached moksha, or you haven't gone back to an inanimate object or an animal. Three paths of liberation, again, continuing. Jnana, path of knowledge, that's the second one. The first one was the path of works, this one's the path of knowledge. The more you know and apply that knowledge, the better it is for your karma. It is reserved for men only of the highest caste. So there again, one of those places where a woman can't even fit in with their religious system because of their sex. So you can't take that path. You're going to have to do one of the other ones. Reach a higher level of understanding and knowledge through meditation or yoga. A lot of what they do is mental, through meditation, trying to reach a higher level of understanding. By controlling his body, posture, breathing, and concentration, he can reach a godly level of understanding. So the more that's part of the yoga and the meditation business for them is to try to be in touch with these gods, to maybe get a little bit more information, to become more like them. Their belief is that they all have a little bit of God in them. So when they get the Moksha, they become a god at that point. Moksha, I can call him Moksha. Bhakti, path of passionate devotion to a god. Now this is the one that we'll see is the most popular. Not of works, not of knowledge, but just having a high, very high level of devotion to a god. What that means is you may choose 330 million different gods, goddesses, and demigods. You've got a lot to choose from. So as long as you're very devoted to one or all of those, then you're doing good. It's good karma for you. The two most popular are Vishnu and Shiva. Vishnu, he appeared as an avatar, savior, incarnation of a deity. He appeared, get this, he appeared in the form of a giant turtle. And Gautama Buddha, Rama, and Krishna are also some of the very popular gods over there. So you can, again, I don't know how they explain this, if you just go with one very popular god, or you need to bunch up and get a couple dozen lower gods. I don't know. Sorry.
Okay, I'm confused with the.
So am I.
The Buddha, because I thought Buddha was with Buddhism. Is Buddhism and Hinduism a lot alike?
They are, actually. This is very old religion, but Buddhism was an offshoot of Hinduism. So therefore you see that name there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Buddha used to be a Hindu.
Yes.
And then on his path to following Hinduism, found enlightenment and then created
Yes.
Buddhism.
Very good way to explain that.
Got their page.
And Shiva, as we talked about, their earliest forms of their religion talked about fertility gods, that their families that they have good, healthy families, big families, and that their crops do well. They looked at fertility, and this Shiva was one of their gods of fertility. So they still have that. That's one of them that they still have today. Both Vishnu and Shiva, these gods have many wives, 4 consorts. So their gods need wives or consorts. One thing that I want to point out about Hinduism is, if you heard a whole lot about Hinduism, Hindu terrorism, yeah, trying to push their faith off on other parts of the world, other parts of the country. The Hindu faith is a very tolerant faith. And even to the point if one of those 330 million gods happens to be the God that we worship, then they're okay. I won't say okay with it, but they're tolerant of that. You know, that's your path that you're taking as a Hindu believer is, well, I sort of like this God that the Christians worship, so I'm going to go that path. You know, and as long as you still obey the other fundamental beliefs of Hinduism, then so that's why they're pretty tolerant of other people's faiths, because that just might be the way that you choose to go. See, there's no absolute there. This is the way you need to go. There's many. So that's the part that, as a Christian believer, that if we have that conversation, is how do you know? How do you know if that's enough? at this God and these things that you do, when does that end the cycle of suffering and reincarnation end? How do you ever know? How do you know if it ever will, or at what point that it's going to end? Let's talk about that caste system. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of time here. The first caste is the Brahmins. Their highest god, if you will, is called Brahma. And these Brahmins are honored by all the people. This is the people that are in the highest class system. They're called the Brahmins, including the royal family. Their jobs as priests and philosophers are subsidized by the state and involve the study of their sacred books. So you can see that group of people, priests, on the throne, if you will, over there. Those are the ones that are the highest in that caste
So
system.
royalty and priests and who else?
Including the royal family. They may have a job as priests and philosophers. And their incomes are subsidized by the state. So that's where they're getting their riches from. Because they're in such a high caste, they're venerated, so to speak, so they don't mind, the public doesn't mind, if you will, paying out for supporting those folks. The Kshatriyas, maybe butchering that, are the upper middle class involved in government and professional life, but they are lower than the Brahmins. So these are the professionals, maybe college professors, people high up in government that are not part of the royal family. They're in that upper middle class. The Vaisyas are the merchants and farmers below the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas, but above the rest of the population in their status and religious privileges. So these guys are near the bottom of the totem pole, if you will. They're not at the bottom. And those are the upper, these are the merchants and farmers, the workers. Ones that are paying for the other guys. And the Sudras. The Sudras are the lowest caste whose duty is to serve the upper class castes as laborers and servants. They are excluded from many of the religious activities and rituals over there. So where does that leave you? If you happen to be born into that lower class, you can't even hope to get a better station in life by doing the good works, for example. So you're limited on what you can do because you're into that lower class. And again, it's basically the family that you were born into, the Sudras, for example, you are a Sudra. And there's no hope of really getting out of it either. Not as long as you live in in your physical body now until you come back. If you've been a good Sudra, and karma's lined up well for you, then you may come back to a higher caste in that system. So that's how that works. Very complicated. Someone has something to say?
Yeah. Because, you're talking code and the no code. I wonder what the suicide rate is among Hindus, because especially the fact that they might think to get out of the suffering, to move on to another life, I wonder if there's a big stigma against suicide, or, you know what I mean? It's just the thought that there's no hope.
It does sound like no hope.
Yeah.
Well, I think they have more hope than being around. But somebody can come along and use them for a good purpose, so that would be their hope. That's somewhere along the way that, that they can still, I won't say that they can't be, they're excluded from all of them, like the ones that works, for example. If somebody comes along and says, can you do this for me? Somebody from a higher caste, they're given like the explanation that Chris had back there for the rock. If somebody uses you for something that you can't do yourself, then that's good karma for you, that you'll come back in a higher caste the next time. So I wouldn't say it's without hope, but I wouldn't know what the suicide rate is by any chance. I would think that you have less hope.
Well, just the fact that, they believe that if they're suffering now, that maybe it'll be better in the next life. you know, that's why I wondered if that
Well,
kind of
ju- ju-
attributed to.
Just bear in mind this endless cycle, it's not totally endless, but it could go on this reincarnation could go on for thousands or tens of thousands of cycles. So hopefully, you know, you've done a little bit of good that can raise you up, you know, in your next life. I mean, Eastern religions are hard for us Westerners to understand, you know, but that's the way they've been doing it for thousands of years, you know, and it's all that they know, you know, so.
So but when they die, they find out they're wrong. So it's only the people that are still living that think they were reincarnated into this or reincarnated into that, correct?
I'm not sure what you mean. Say that again.
The person that is Hindu,
Yeah.
that dies, we
Yeah.
know that their belief is not correct. So it's only the people that are still alive that will believe that they are reincarnated into a tree or a rock or a higher caste.
Now, let me state this, is I don't know for sure that, all you know is that you're gonna come back, either up or down, you know, because of karma. That, when you come back, I don't know that you know that, okay, I'm better than I was in the last life, or I'm worse off. I'm just a postman.
Very,
It is very complicated, as I said, it's one of the most complicated faiths, you know, and it's been around the longest too, so. But there are people that follow that, you know, we'll talk about that here. Hindu evangelization of the West, they have made an effort, not like you see Islam trying to do that, to convert the rest of the world, but they have. And they're not violent about this either, because if you don't think the way that I think, you're an infidel, therefore you have no right to exist. You know where that comes from. Hindus aren't like that, but they do make an attempt to convert other people into their beliefs too, but it's peaceful. Who's heard of it? Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, writers, poets, and they both believed in transcendentalism, and that followed. Mostly, to put that in a nutshell, that belief is that we're born good, and that society and institutions have made us bad. So therefore, they revolted against industry, big banks, things like that. They think that those things are the things that corrupt us. So, and that carries a lot of the same beliefs as Hinduism does too, but we see a little bit of that in those two gentlemen, if you will. In 1893, in the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago, religions from all over the world, Swami, that's a teacher, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not even going to say that, Vivekananda, made a deep impression on American intellectual society. So while he was here during that time, a lot of people, that was during a time in this country when we were looking for something else, if you will, as far as religions go. In the 1930s, Swami, there's another one, started the Vedanta Society of Southern California. So one of the first places in this country that Hinduism got a foothold was, no surprise there, in Southern California. I think all of the, I guess I couldn't say weird stuff, but they're definitely trendsetters. In the 1960s, those of you that are old enough to remember the Beatles, remember when they went through that, the Indian sitar music and all of that stuff, they took it from, they were big into Hinduism and yoga and meditation and that, and their music reflected that a lot too. So, I mean, even more recently, we see an effect of Hinduism in this country. Even today, remember, who's Gandhi? Mohandas Gandhi's teachings have who in our recent time was influenced so much by Gandhi as far as peaceful protest. Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King. And that protest with Gandhi was because of British repression, that they were still being ruled by Britain at that time. One thing I will have to say about Gandhi, he made a statement that even through all of this cycles that they go through, that he just never had a peace about really no. You don't, and another thing in this is you try to be so devoted to any one of these number of gods, you never have that connection, that personal relationship with any of these gods. They're all detached from us. They're out there somewhere, and you worship them, but you can't have that personal relationship that we do as a Christian. So Gandhi, he knew there was something else, but yet he stayed within the system, as far as, it kind of makes you wonder where Gandhi's at today. Hopefully he's worked his way because of good karma. I think he got good karma that he's worked his way up, but he's probably still got 10,000 more lives to go through. So let me ask you this question. Why is the Hindu God so small? From what you've seen about the Hindu religion, how would you answer that question? Any of the gods?
What do you mean so small? Physically or?
As far as if you have a question about how am I going to be able to reach my salvation, getting an answer from any of the gods, do I have an absolute that this is what I need to do, that I know when I do this, that I'll reach that point of moksha, I think it was.
Because it's not real.
Let me talk about that for a minute. Reality for Hinduism is, if you say that Hindus believe that reality isn't real, that's a misconception, is that they look at things like, each person sees things a little differently. They still understand that where they're at in life, they have to work with that reality that's around them. They have to work with that. But my reality is different than somebody else's reality. So that's another one of those weird things is the path that you take for your salvation, one of the God or gods that you worship so devoutly, you may take a different path than I do because your reality is different than my reality. So they look at things a little, to us, we look at things, as far as our universe that we live in for being real, that, God made all of that, that it is. It's not just something that we see and perceive to be something. So they have a different conception on what reality is too than we do. One of the many things that are different. So to answer that question, if we were in that, just like Gandhi, that he didn't have that sense that he had an answer for all of this, that if he approached one of these gods, that God can tell him, that what you've done is enough. As far as this endless cycle goes, do you ever know where you're at, where you're going to get off of it at? You don't know.
There's no absolutes in this.
No absolutes. So that's where I'm going with this. Where does a Hindu find God from within himself? He believes that he's part God. For they believe they are part God, therefore they have no absolute truth or salvation. It's not an absolute. You accept Christ as your Savior, you know that you have that salvation. These folks, there's many paths. His path may be better than my path, and his God may be better than mine. So there's no absolutes there. And 1 John 5, and we'll talk a little bit, we've got a few minutes. God has given us eternal life, and that life is in his Son and not a series of mythological, unproven reincarnations. So we're looking at Scripture. We talked a little bit about the main scriptures of Hinduism. Our Scripture, Old and New, is the supreme authority over the church, the sole sole guide for our faith, our practices, this, in God's word, which I didn't put it out today. I have it. That is our sole authority. You know, they can look at any number of authority scriptures. Hindus believe that Jesus is not God, but there again, just one of the many incarnations or avatars of Vishnu. There again, if you wanted to follow Jesus, and you think that's your path, they're okay with it. Christ is the Son of God, the sinless Redeemer who died and was raised again for sin. That's an absolute. There's and these are all on your handout too, I believe. As far as who God is, Hindus deny that there is a person. This is I think one of the saddest part is that they don't know their God. But a Brahma, a formless, abstract, eternal, that is he's sort of at the top of the gods. He's an abstract, eternal being without attributes. He has no qualities. He's at the beginning of all things. He's there at the beginning. Doesn't say he made all things, he's just there at the beginning. God is an eternal, personal, spiritual being in three persons. Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hindus call sin an utter illusion. It's not really sin, it's just how we perceive sin. Because they believe in all material reality is illusionary. It's just things that you pass through from one life to the next. Everyone is born in sin and falls short of, again, Hindus believe that basically we're created good, that because of karma, whether it's good or bad, those actions, that's the important thing to them. It's not that they started out bad and we rely on Christ as our salvation. Hindus seek deliverance from samsara, that's an endless cycle of death and rebirth through a union with Brahma. That's the point. By the way, who's ever heard of Nirvana? I'm not talking about the group Nirvana. Paige?
It's like, the idea is ultimate nothingness or like peace. So it's when you finally reach that point where you're like, yeah.
You know you've reached that point. That is the last. That's the last stage in that endless cycle. Nirvana is that you know that you've reached that point where you're going to get out of that. You know.
And they believe that all life is suffering. So like when you're done with life, when you're done with the reincarnation process, like you're done with suffering, you've reached ultimate nothingness and ultimate peace.
So if you hear that term Nirvana, that just means you've reached that point, that jumping off point, if you will, where you get to get off of that. I'm thinking of that thing that you put a guinea pig that goes around and around and around.
Oh,
Yeah, the hamster wheel. Salvation is gained only through believing in the sacrificial death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. There's your verses for that. So, not to say that meditation, Hindus rely a lot on yoga and meditation, is that trying to reach a higher level of spiritual understanding. We can use that same thing, meditation, for our relationship with God, using the scripture. Yes, Karen.
I want to say that a lot of people that I know that have been agnostic tend to stumble upon Hinduism because they can essentially make it whatever they want.
Yeah.
So.
And that's it. You know, your path is your path. You know, it's not the same one that I take. And so your religion, there again, without those absolutes, you can make it pretty much an a la carte. And I'll pick this, and I'll pick this, and I'll pick this. And hopefully my karma's good enough, I won't come back as a rock the next time. It'll be a monkey, so. What's that? Yeah.
So like when you work good, you might be back to apply or some sort of.
And you carry that karma with you from life to life too. If you were mostly bad karma, you came back in a lower place in life, whether it's an inanimate, a tree or whatever, that you carry that with you, and you still have to. It's a continuation. You can either add on more bad to that, or you can do more good. And so, it all points to works.
Can they change their voice in God's
I believe they can. Now, I can't say this for 100% sure, but they can add more gods, they can take more gods off. I mean, especially if you're going from life to life, you know. Well, this guy didn't work out so well for me. There again, I don't think that they carry that knowledge of what their past life was like. They're starting basically, they know that if they're born into this family today, that they came from somewhere. It's part of that cycle. That they know because they're taught that, you know, that you came from another previous life. But I don't think that those people have that knowledge that, you know, I did good into. Just look around at your surroundings. You have to determine that, well, okay, I'm not living such a good life because of this family I was born in. So either, well, do I really know that maybe I came from a worse family the last time? Maybe I did work my way up, or maybe I came from a better family the last time, and maybe I've actually digressed. You know, again, no absolutes. You don't know which way you're going in that, and you don't know where you're at on that wheel or anything. So again, no absolutes, but pointing back to that we have that absolute again that, as Rich said, Jesus is more than a prophet this week. Is Jesus is an absolute, that we can know that. Questions that I can't answer? Dave, I think you had your hand up already.
What part of Hinduism, or is it another religion over there that worship cows? They will not kill cows.
Yeah, the cow is sacred over there.
Okay.
Yes, the cow is sacred.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing about this is, if they believe so in this, reincarnation, you know, well, the family, I think they pick out who you're going to marry, or they used to over there. You know, they pick out a girl for you. You go up and say, Dad, I can't marry her. She was my sister 100 years ago. Now,
But there again, you have to stay in that caste too, so if your parents are picking, they're probably picking for somebody that's in the same caste that they are, so.
Yeah.
All right, let's close in prayer. Yes.
If they were trying to get you to be a Hindu, where would they put you in the caste? Would they start you at the bottom?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on your present circumstances. So like, if you're well off, that's where you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as far as if you decide to become a Hindu, then you're gonna have to buy into the caste system too, so.
Yeah.
If you're a part of the government over here, you're gonna probably be in that second.
Okay.
Well, sometimes I think that people working in government should be towards the bottom of that caste system. Okay, we've gone over our time. I guess I'll pray today. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time in your house, and I know that there are so many faiths out there, and we can't just laugh at these people for their faiths, because they are very, very real to them, and even though we don't understand them, we know people. We're coming into contact with people that we can befriend first and get to know them a little bit, and then just have that discussion with them. That how do you know that this path that you're taking is going to get you off that endless cycle, that you have that absolute answer that we have, that you can have that confidence. And again, it starts with us being here and learning about what we believe, Father, that if we can't counter what they believe if we don't have something to counter with, and again, our knowledge too. So that is very important. I thank you for everybody that's here today that is trying to understand more about other beliefs throughout the world, including in our own country. We see more and more doctors and folks like that are from India in our country. So we do have contact with those people too, Father, that we have that confidence, that we know for certain, Father, where our salvation lies. Thank you again for everybody here today. Thank you for the service to follow. Thank you for our salvation through Christ. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.